Okay.
Is it on?
Oh, the light's on. The light is on. That's me.
Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. Welcome. Trying to hide the wire. Or else it just sticks up. All right, it's Sunday, still Sunday, where I'm going to complete some binding because I have to bind some quilts. You know, because I quilted this week and, well, I got a lot done. All right, let me see who's all here real quick. I did it. Why do I keep hitting myself with my chair? I don't know. I'm just clumsy today, I guess. We got Karen, Vicky, Noreen, Tracy, Christy, Becky, Cheryl, Tina, Melanie, Julie, Peggy, Penny, Karen, Rose, Margaret, Dawn, and so many more. Welcome, everybody. There's a lot of you here already. So as the title says, binding. I need to get some binding done. Instead of making something new, I'm just going to spend the last of this month finishing quilts. I only have one more left to sew the binding, and yes, this looks like a lot of strips. It is. I'm making an overage amount so that I can use the leftover for other quilts in the future. Sometimes I do that when it's the last of the fabric. I just like cut it all up into 2.5-inch strips and then make an overabundance amount and then fold it up and put it in my little box I have over here of binding. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just going to start sewing these together. I don't know how many strips are here. Probably like 20. Who knows? It's a lot. But I figured I need to get this done and get these quilts finished. Oops. I was stitching with a smaller stitch length a little bit ago.
Fire up that Juki, huh?
Yep. All right. But it's going to leave me, now that I finished some of these quilts, I have like, I think it was 24 quilts left to quilt in my closet. Woohoo! I'm under 30 and I'm under 25 now. So I'm managing to get a lot done. Which is good because it needs to get done. Right now I'm just connecting my strips together. And then I have to press this, but we'll turn the camera while I do that too. It's not that hard. And then I'll start attaching to all the quilts that need to be bound. And you'll get to see all of my finishes. In the last few days. So, how's everybody doing? I haven't been too good, but I'm fighting through it like always. Stupid arthritis problems mixed with MS is not very good. Plus, you guys want to hear this? This is funny. I had Botox, not this past Friday, but the previous Friday, right? For migraine prevention. And you're not supposed to, they do like 36 different injection points. They go across the forehead right here. They go across here. They go behind the ears, along the back of the head in 2 different spots. And it's like 36 different points. None of it bothered me. Obviously, I'm not bothered by needles or anything. So getting shots doesn't bother me. But what did bother me is you're not supposed to massage your face or, you know, anything like that and wear headbands or anything for the first 24 hours. I didn't do any of that. None of it. And like 3 days later, I got a pimple right here on my forehead. Yes, I got a pimple. You know, I still get pimples. And I went to pop it. Well, popping that pimple moved the Botox in my forehead. So now I can't scrunch my eyebrows. I haven't been able to for days. I haven't been able to move my eyebrows. So my expressions aren't as expression-y because I can't move them. So I guess there's a positive note to getting Botox. It helped with the wrinkles that are right here in between my eyes.
Well, it hasn't done anything for the migraine.
But it hasn't done anything for the migraines yet. But from what I've read and what the doctor said, sometimes it could take more than one time of injections to help. But it did help cosmetically for my nice wrinkles in between my eyes. I just think it's funny because I've had funny faceless expressions because I can't do it.
Would you do anything different from any of your older videos?
Would I what?
Would you do anything different from any of your older videos?
Do anything different from any of my older videos? What do you mean? Would I do anything?
Redo them? Would you do anything different?
Oh, if I redid any of them, would I do anything different? Then I don't know. There's a lot of times I've made stuff and then was like, what the heck am I doing here? What am I doing? You know, or how did I do that? And yeah, I would probably, I've remade a few of them, you know, and I've even made stuff off camera that you guys have asked, you know, hey, can you make that? And I've made the second version different than the first version. But I still got the point across of what I was making. I am working on a Halloween themed pattern. Well, I mean, it can use any fabric, but it's going to be for Halloween fabric since I just got a bunch of Halloween fabric. So I have decided to come up with something to use the Halloween fabric. So as soon as I get a chance to film said video, I will film it. And then you guys will have a new video from me of something new that I haven't done. And I got the idea from the floor in a building in a movie we were watching. And I drew it up into what I believe will work, but who knows. Right now I'm just cutting off the side. I just use scissors for this part. I used to use the rotary cutter, but that means I have to get up and actually cut fabric with a rotary cutter when I can just stay sitting right here and trim all this off.
What movie did you get the idea from?
I don't remember. We've watched like 30 movies in the last week. I don't remember what movie it was.
We didn't watch 30.
It was just an idea that I got from the movie.
30? That's like all day, every day.
Yeah, we didn't watch 30 movies, but you know. We watched like 6 or 7 movies. I don't remember what movie it was. All I know is I couldn't nap that day because I kept thinking about how it would go. So I didn't nap and I ended up drawing it up. And then by the time I sewed it up, it wasn't even right. So, you know, math and me are just not friends. But now I got it right from sewing it. And hopefully I'll be able to explain a video without a pattern because, you know, I don't write patterns. But it's going to require some paying attention skills. So hopefully I don't mess it up while filming it when I do film it.
Do you have any clappers and do you use them?
Do I have any clappers and do I use them? Nope, I do not. And nope, I do not. I don't need that extra time for it to sit under a clapper. I mean, I don't need that. I know a lot of my friends use one, the wooden ones. Becca even has them in all sorts of sizes. My friend Becca from Sew Becca, she has them in a big, huge block that you can stick on the block and everything. But I don't know. I think that takes away the time I could be doing other things by waiting for it to, you know, smooth out the wrinkle or not the wrinkle, the seam. All right, let's go to the iron. Scott will turn the camera. Oh, you got to plug it in anyway. The iron.
Oh, the iron? I could have done that.
All right, we're just going to hang out right here for a minute while I press this for those that have never watched binding be done. Let's get this iron warm though. So I hooked it on the 45, and so I'm going to have a bunch of seams that I'm just going to press. I don't press mine open unless I absolutely have to. I just press one way or the other. I like having a big ironing board to do this. It's not hot enough yet. Gotta wait. Let's try it again. All right. So I'm going to block the camera here and there, but as you can see right here, I'm just folding it in half, raw edges together. And then I just use my first finger and my thumb underneath my first finger to line it up. Run the iron all the way down. This is the cool part about having a long ironing board. Oops, I don't know how I did that one. Messed it up. I messed it up. Pay attention. All right. And yes, that's the bladder of the iron talking. It's called gurgle. That's the name of this iron, is gurgle. It makes gurgling sounds. Hear that? It farts along the way, but I wasn't going to call it fart, so I named it gurgle. Makes a weird sound. But it is a steam iron, and I love steam on my iron.
You're not using the silicone pad?
No, I have a silicone binding pad, yes, but I don't feel like burning my fingers, and my fingers have been hurting, so this way I don't burn no fingers. But I do have a binding helper thingy. Just so you guys know, it looks like this. It's called Quilted Hearts by, I don't even know, you can find it at Fat Quarter Shop. You literally stick your binding through these slots. Once you start it, you put it through the slots and you literally lay your iron on it like this and then just pull through. But it does require a little bit of exercise to get that to work properly. And I burn my fingers a lot. I do, because I burn myself all the time. So you guys are probably different than me, but I'm a finger burner. Actually, I burn more than my fingers, and I also cut more than my finger. I cut everything. I've hurt myself in this sewing room hundreds of times. I just make quick about it doing it this way. It doesn't take that long. Well, this will, because this is a lot of binding. This is like a king size worth amount of binding, but I don't need that much. I just figured I'll have some left because I wasn't going to leave, like 15 inches on the fabric. It was just a waste. So I cut it all up. Use it for another project. You never know when I'm going to need yellow.
Clapper thing they're talking about, that old commercial for the clap on.
Oh, yeah.
Clapper.
No, the clappers for quilting is usually a piece of wood. It's a square piece of wood, like walnut or something kind of wood, and you put it on top right after you press it, and this holds the steam in or the heat in until it flattens it as flat as it can possibly get your, block. Oh, I still got a long way to go. my choice to have made this much binding. I made enough for the other quilts, though. This.
You got as much done as you had to finish, so you're halfway there.
Yep. I'm halfway through. Okay, that's cool now. I can put that back in the drawer.
How's your fingers? Healed up yet?
It's healing. I don't know if that's going to focus. So what I did was I was improperly using scissors, and I went right through, and it sliced off the knuckle part right there. Not off, it's there. It wasn't sliced off per se, but I sliced it open. I filleted my finger. But it's healing. And surprisingly, it's not as itchy as most times I cut myself, which is kind of good. I hate it when my healing, whatever I cut, itches like crazy. But this one didn't. I didn't even feel myself cut myself until I saw blood. I was like, what? How'd that happen? I told Scott. I was like, Scott, I cut my finger. He goes, let me have that. I'll open it for you, because I was using scissors to open a bottle. Yep, you know, because I'm so cool. I can't use scissors to open a bottle. And I cut myself. I just can't be bothered to do it the correct way. I just use scissors. It's my own fault.
You had me, you could just let me do it.
Yeah, I had Scott. I could have just had him do it because, you know, he opens my bottles like a pro. Me, I can't even get the wrapper off of them because it hurts my hands. It's just weird that I didn't even feel myself cut myself. It hasn't hurt this whole time, except for when Scott was rubbing my hands the other day when it was still kind of fresh. He was rubbing my hands and he hit it accidentally, and that about hurt, but that was it. I feel like I'm going and going and going forever on this. Whew.
You're getting there. You're almost done. Why did you cut your binding?
I cut my binding 2.5 inches. Wall hangings, though. So for quilts, I do 2.5 inch. For wall hangings and placemats and sometimes table runners, I do 2.25 inch. But 2.5 is great for the quilts. For the bigger quilts, I mean. All right.
Which Juki would you recommend?
Which Juki would I recommend? Well, if you want a straight stitch only machine that you can straight stitch and no fussing about it, you can turn the camera now. A Juki TL 2010Q is what I recommend. It's what I use. This is my second of my TL 2010Q machines. They work amazing. They're mechanical, and I love them.
I'm going to put a link in.
Scott put a link in. And if you want something that does zigzag and the letters and all that kind of stuff, you know, you can do straight stitch, zigzags, all sorts of bazillion stitches, then I have a Juki HZL F600. And Scott put a link in for that. That one is does all the other things, but it's not fast enough for me to sew on a daily basis. All right, I need a thread color. Ooh. What color did I use to quilt this quilt? I used white.
White.
Huh?
Are we done with the iron?
Yeah, I'm done with the iron. You can turn it off. All right, we're gonna use a light yellow for this quilt. This is not just one quilt, though. This one is a quilt with a matching wall hanging. It has, I don't know if you guys remember me making this. I made the wall hanging after the video, but it's called Vintage Splendor because it's vintage fabrics used to make the quilt. So here's the quilt itself. my Juki is not computerized. No computer parts at all. The only thing that it has is you can cut the thread using the heel of the pedal, or you can cut the thread on the machine, and you can turn your needle up and down with a button. That's it. And it has reverse. So here's that vintage house.
Do you want
Darn
me to hold it up?
my fingernails.
Do you want
Because
me
my
to hold
hands
it up
hurt.
so they can see?
All right. Vintage Splendor is now quilted. I don't remember. Did I do this on Sew Sunday? Yeah, I did it on a Sew Sunday.
Or that or breakfast.
Or a Breakfast at Tiffany's. Probably Sew Sunday, though. All right. I need the back side.
Be careful. There's that needle there.
Yep. I'm going to throw all this binding over there on the floor. Put this part up in the throat space with my magnet on top to hold it still for a second. I'm going to find the bottom corner because that's where I'm going to put the tag. I'm going to cut the tag to size. I always make them bigger than they need to be, but I make the tag 2 1/8. Right there, 2 1/8. So I always end up cutting a 1/4 inch or so off of the bottoms. All right, let's get that yellow thread on so I can. Black is next. I'm going to roll a quick bobbin of this. This is how I do these things. Grab an empty bobbin. You guys, a lot of people always say, why am I running 2 threads through the machine? I'm not. One is for bobbin. One was for the top thread. It just looks like it because I always leave the thread tail hanging up. I just tie my thread off and pull it through. For those that don't know that trick, I do it with the long arm and with the embroidery machine.
Has Eric finished his butterfly quilt yet?
Has Eric finished his butterfly quilt? Honestly, I don't know because I've seen that his videos have popped up, but I haven't been watching them because I'm such a lousy friend. I don't watch any of my friends unless I'm not doing anything. And I've been so busy that I haven't seen anybody's videos, but you can go over to their channel and to his channel and check it out. Scott put a link. It's just called live sewing or sewing session or something like that. All right, bottom corner, placing my tag with the words facing out. I usually, I don't know, about 10 inches up. It's just a little hangy tag. And 100 time stitches on it, back stitching and all. All right, I'm gonna find a seam. I'm gonna put it away from the edge. And I'm gonna find the end of this. And I'm gonna start attaching my binding with a 1/4 inch seam. I'm also gonna change my stitch length to a 2.5, 2.6, somewhere in there. I don't need it to be super tight to attach binding. And I literally just sew it on. corner, I just lift it, flip it up so that it's level with the quilt, flop it over, turn the whole thing, and stitch it on. And I put the whole side on my lap. I probably shouldn't have wore pants for today. Knowing, huh?
Where do you have your presser foot setting?
The presser foot pressure setting, I have it right at the notch above the circle, the middle circle, right above it.
What foot do you use for binding?
What foot do I use? I use the foot that comes with the machine. It's the everything foot. I use it for everything. I don't switch out to walking foot or any of that kind of stuff. Actually, I don't think well, maybe I did it once with a walking foot, but I usually don't. I just use the foot that's on the machine. I've never had a problem. Coming to another corner, and I almost have a seam landing in the corner. It's like right there, but it's not in the corner. Normally I'd stitch off the edge, but my magnetic seam guide is too big for me to tilt the quilt and sew off the edge. And if you're worried when you sew on binding, it's also easy to just use some binding clips and clip it on all the way around so you can put it in the position you want so you don't have seams landing in a corner. It doesn't bother me. I'm so used to sewing now. It's one of those things where if you make sure that it's not in the first corner, then all the rest of the corners shouldn't have a seam. But there are some quilt sizes, the size of the quilt that, your seams will land in a corner, but most don't. Oh, I'm being poked. Pull this so they don't get poked anymore.
While you're doing that?
Huh?
Maybe that's a good idea to keep the needle out.
Yeah.
When you start to sew it down on the front, does your stitching catch the binding on the back, or is it below the binding?
When I start to stitch it on the front, it does not catch the binding on the back. Not the way I do it. Only time it does is when I'm doing 2 1/4 inch binding. Then I catch the binding all the time because it's smaller. This is probably the fastest part of all the quilting process for me.
What's
I'm using Essentials thread by Connecting Threads. It's 50 weight. I'm pretty sure it's 50 weight. Hold on, I gotta look one more time. Yeah, 50 weight. So, it's Essentials thread. You can get it at Connecting Threads or at Superior Threads.
What size is your binding?
My binding is 2.5 inches. All right, I'm back where I started. So I'm going to bring my tail up. Since this is a 2.5 inch binding, I literally am just going to take my 2.5 inch by 8 inch ruler. I'm going to lay it right here on the edge, smooth this out over it, take my handy dandy scissors and not cut any of myself, just the fabric. I'm going to keep this on my lap though, because I got to put it on the other one. All right, now that that's on here, I'm just going to grab the top one. I'm just going to lay it on here with the mountain facing up, pinch it, open this one up with the mountain facing down, and place it on top of each other and sew corner to corner. I am going to change my stitch length back down though. I don't even bother checking anymore because I know I got it good. I just slice off the excess, finger press my seam, open it up, place it on there.
On the corners, do you veer off at an angle?
I do not veer off at the angle. I used to, but I stopped doing that when I started using the long seam guide because I can't turn it that way. The seam guide is in the way.
Connecting Threads or Superior Threads more? Which one do you prefer?
Connecting Threads, you can get the, I don't know if Superior has it, but you can buy a 6-pack of these threads on Connecting Threads. You can buy 2 blacks, 2 grays, 2 whites, or white, off-white, and whatever color. All right, before I top stitch that, I'm going to sew this one's on. This I'm not putting a thing on because it's just a wall hanging. I ran out of tags, so I'm not going to put one on this. Where's the seam? There it is. Just going to attach the binding to it. Oh.
Kathy said Connecting Threads has their cones on sale for $10.
This is a wall hanging. It needs a wall hanging hooks before I do anything. Yeah. Connecting Threads has what?
Their
cones on sale for $10. That's actually really good.
Yeah, that's what Diane's telling me, or I mean Kathy's telling people. So.
All right.
Put it out
do
there.
I want
it's
it this
sale.
way? Okay, it's going to go this way. So I'm going to put some hanging hooks on here real quick. I'm going to line it up on my cutting mat using that as my guide. I'm going to grab 4 binding clips. I'm going to grab my ribbon, which I just miraculously have ribbon in here. But it was from another project. I'm going to cut 4 5-inch strips from this. And that's taped together, so we don't want that. All right, that's garbage. That's the last of that ribbon almost. All right, and I'm going to now equally put my ribbon on here. I always put it 2 inches in on the inside of the 2-inch mark. 2-inch mark right there. And then I fold it, I'm just folding it in half to attach. Then I count over on both sides equally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're going to do 9 inches, so I need to put this ribbon right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to put it on the inside of the 9-inch mark. and the inside of the 9-inch mark. And then I have 4 equally placed wall hanging hooks. I'm going to sew them on real quick. And they kind of get adjusted just slightly because I'm, took the clip off of it. I backstitch over it like 30 times. Not 30, but 3. There we go. Oop, this one needs to be readjusted. There. We want them to stay equal because when you hang it on a dowel or a rod or whatever curtain rod thing, you want it to hang equally. You don't want it to have any sags in it. All right. Now, attach binding. Yeah, I just come up a 1/4 inch before the edge and then backstitch. But if I didn't use a seam guide, I would come off the corner. All right, when it comes to my little hanging hooks, I just keep them folded down towards the quilt on this part.
Does sewing off the corner really help with the miter?
Sewing off the corner does help with the miter. Keeps it nice and crisp on the backside. And I literally landed on a seam. Let's hope that stays nice. Very thick right there. All right, let's see. Stop about right there. All right, I'm actually going to cut off because it ended at a seam, when I did the previous one. So I'm actually going to cut that off so I don't have 2 seams right on top of each other. Oh, look, and it's landing at a seam here. All right, we're going to make this work properly. I'm going to unstitch right here real quick. Just a little. Normally I don't do this, but landing right there on the seam. I don't want it to be before, I want it to be after. Pretty sure that's going to be after. There. All right, that can go, that can go, that can go. I wanted to make sure that the seam is away from. All right, so this one will go in the garbage because that has a seam on it, and that one does not. Hopefully that's the only seam ripping I need to do. All right, top stitching time. I don't use a seam guide for this. I just stick it over on this side and top stitch. Oh, thank you, Laura. That's so wonderful. I just saw it pop up. So this one's going to land like right at the... Yeah, that's not going to work. I blame my fingers for this one. Right on the edge. Stay right there. All right, I literally just flip my corner up while I'm at it, and I don't like pre-clip anything. Just line it up and sew. This is the one that has this. Is this the one with the seam landing right here? No, that's not a seam. That's just landing all funky. Sometimes it's not perfect. And this is one of those cases where it's not. This is the one with the seam. So I have to be very careful how I fold this because I let the seam be in the corner. That's okay. I'm going to make it work. All right, now that I'm on the top, I'm going to pull my hanging hooks completely out of the way. And I'm going to very slowly stitch beside them. Sometimes the foot likes to slip. And that's not my fault, it's just because I chose not to put a different foot on the machine. Just holding that out of the way. Stitch down to the next one. Got one more and a corner. I'm going to try to hold two things at the same time. And see, my hanging hooks are on there. They're not stitched down. They're on there, but they're not stitched in the downward position.
You you ever make your own tabs for wall hanging?
I do make my own tabs for wall hanging, sometimes out of the backing fabric or a piece of whatever was used on the front, but I did not in this case because this could be a wall hanging or a table topper. It's kind of big for a table topper though. It could still be laid down as a table topper even with the hooks on it because the hooks will stay under when it's on a table. I'm just putting them there because people that have gotten wall hangings from me prefer the hooks because they've been doing the dowel thing like me. So now I just add them to, I try to add them to most wall hangings. And if the wall hanging could be used as a table runner, I still add it because some people can use it the same way, you know. As long as you push the tab down, it stays down. There. Coming up to my starting point. Let's take away all this extra stitches.
Do you ever make a sleeve?
I do make sleeves on some things, usually only for the ones that I'm keeping for shows. All right. See if this will stick to the wall.
You should.
No.
No, maybe not.
Nope, not gonna stick to the wall.
That was a nice try.
Nice try.
Which one's next?
I gotta finish this one. I worked on that.
Do you want me to hang it up instead of the flag?
You can, yeah.
Yeah, I can take the flag down. They've seen the flag. It's been on here for half an hour, and it's on every video.
All right, starting the next. What?
There we go.
There, yeah. Now you can see it. It has the blocks. It doesn't have the full squares like this does, but it's the same thing. This one turned out really lightweight. This quilt, lightweight and flowy. I feel like I went silent. Any more questions of anything? yeah,
Or no,
Saturday,
Friday.
Friday. Was it Friday?
Yeah.
Yeah, Friday it actually rained here. It's a miracle.
Like pouring rain.
Yeah, it poured and then it like poured rain, then it decided to monsoon where the wind just kicked up and it popped off our back. We have like a sliding door for our back patio, and the screen thing that goes over the screen thing, it goes over the whole window thing. It popped that completely off. So when I went outside, everything was a disaster out there. Dirt up all on the porch because the rain blew it all in, and then it knocked that whole screen off and made a mess of things back there. So tomorrow or the next day, we're gonna go outside and clean. I gotta just hose everything off because it really made a mess out there in the back. The front yard was fine though because the wind was blowing this direction from the back side of the house to the front side. But at least we got rain, really good rain for a little while. And some nice thunder and lightning, my favorite. I like sitting outside in it. Even though humidity kills me, I still like sitting out in the rain. It's just because I like the storms and I like to be right there when the lightning strikes in the neighbor's yard kind of thing. It just makes me feel good. I am using the Juki TL 2010Q. Just got to put a link in. Coming up to my tag, I do not flip the tag out of the way. I just leave that folded back so that way it gets stitched down, folded back permanently kind of thing. It's still movable, but it's at least stays out of the way. So it's right here. It is stitched over, but it's more forced that way instead of pulling it out of the way. We actually got to make more tags because I'm out again.
What's the tip on getting your mojo back?
A tip on what?
Getting your mojo back when you lose your...
When I lose my mojo for the sewing part, just not wanting to sew and quilt, I actually go in my fabric room and cut fabric. At least I'm doing something productive in my sewing space. So I'll just go into the fabric room and organize fabric and cut it up into pieces, iron, cut, iron, you know what I mean? And get it, I just work on it. It usually brings me back. And when even before I had the 2 rooms, I still did the same thing. I would come in here, I would go through fabric, cut it up into scraps, and so on and so forth. That's how I get my mojo back. And when I really have no want or need or desire to sew, I'm usually thinking of things I could create, which brings me right back to it. I never go like 2 days without sewing, honestly. There's been a couple times I've gone a few days without, like a whole week without sewing or long arm quilting, but it's very rare that I do that because my sewing helps me with my pain. But it doesn't take the pain away. It just helps me distract me from it so that I don't think about it and I don't wallow in my own sorrow. You know what I mean? So I use this as a distraction. That's why I love my job, because it's my hobby and it makes me feel good. Not just about myself, but it just makes me feel good mentally and physically, you know, that I'm doing something productive. And at the same time, you know, people are treasuring my quilts, the ones that get them, you know what I mean? It makes me feel good.
People going to QuiltCon first time, do you have any tips?
QuiltCon for the first time. Tips are: bring more than one pair of shoes, because the first day you're going to hate the pair of shoes you brought. The second day you're going to hate the pair of shoes that you brought if you wore them again the next day. So bring a different pair to wear the next day and then swap back, especially if you go all 4 days. If you're only going 1 day, then you're good. Just know, big tip, if you have people anxiety, QuiltCon has become this big, huge, humongous, everybody goes to it, kind of like a festival, you know? Just everybody got to go. Well, just know if you have anxiety or just that kind of feeling you're overwhelmed easily, just know you're going to be, because there's so many people there, so many faces. Sometimes it's elbow to elbow, bumping around into people. You're going to have people coming up to you, talking to you, to see what you're wearing. Go, oh, did you make that? Or, you know what I mean? Especially if you made your own clothes. Lots of people are going to talk to you. You're going to enjoy your time, but there's a lot of people and it's overwhelming sometimes. So if you're like me and go for all 4 days, I use a scooter now these days when I'm at QuiltCon, because I can't walk it at all whatsoever anymore. I can barely walk around when the last time was letting Becca use it or someone else was using the scooter, like we were sharing it. I can't even walk around anymore long enough to whatever. I could barely walk in my house now. It's getting really bad with my legs. So, but if you have or require a scooter, get one or bring yours. And another thing, don't carry around a bunch of your in like a big huge backpack purse or something filled with all the things you would normally carry while you're in there. Leave that at your hotel or whatever. You know, obviously bring your ID and your checkbook or whatever you use to pay, but don't carry around big huge heavy bags, because the two of the times that I've gone, even with a scooter, I carried a bag on my shoulder and I can't do it. It's either got to hook to the scooter or not even being on my back. I don't know. It's just because of all the walking, maybe. It drives me nuts. So if you're like me and keep everything in case of an emergency in your purse, just leave it behind, because you're not going to have that in case of emergency. And if you did have that emergency, someone else would probably have it in their purse. You just have to ask. You can find it. Yeah, carrying big old heavy bags, if you buy stuff and it's heavy, go put it in your car or in your hotel room and then come back, you know? That's big tips right there. Shoes and not carrying heavy bags and being aware of anxiety. You may not think you have people anxiety, but a lot of people do when they realize that's a lot of people that show up. The last time at the North Carolina, not the Phoenix one, but last time I was in North Carolina, there were so many people there that it was elbow to elbow. And just to get in, there was a long line that just wrapped up and down a hall. And it was literally elbow to elbow. Everyone was on top of each other because that was so many people waiting to get into it for it to open. It was like a madhouse. I've been to concerts and they didn't have as many people that were at the QuiltCon. So just know there's a lot of people.
Where and when is it?
It's in February. It's the end of February. You'll have to go to quiltcon.com and see. It says, I think it's like February 20 something. I think it's like 23rd or something, because I'm going to go to Becca's, I think the 19th, February 19th, and I stay at her house while I'm there, you know? It's in North Carolina this year. This coming year for 2026. Do what?
You go back and tack your corner.
Do I go back and tack my corner? No, I leave them like this, and you can even stick scissors in the hole. You could stick a pencil in the hole like that. I leave it open. I don't stitch it down because then it ruins that beautiful miter stitching it down. I want it to stay super beautiful, so I leave it. Huh? That's the back side that he's showing you. And then the front side. I don't want to ruin it, so I don't stitch it down. You can hand stitch it if you want, hand stitch it closed, but I have never had a quilt myself. I do this to all my quilts, leaving it open. I have never had that corner snag on anything and rip up the stitching. I also don't back stitch while I'm there in the corner. The only thing that's ever caught on anything is when I put a corner tag, you know, the kind of tags that I put that go from here to here and do the whole corner. I leave those open, and I have tripped over one because I have one for my bed and I've tripped over it quite a few times. Especially if the quilt like makes its way down my bed, like it just starts falling off, then I'll trip over it. But if I keep the bed made nicely and the the quilt pulled up, then it usually doesn't happen. All right, coming up on my starting stitches. Back stitch, back stitch, back stitch. I stitch into it like, I don't know, a good 2 inches probably lately. I always pull it away and snip, leaving a long tail. All right. That's what the binding looks like on it. I chose yellow because it looked good. The next step, usually, I gotta say this because I gotta remind myself, I'm not gonna do it right now because we're on video, but the next step is I baste the quilts on the long arm with a half an inch stitch all the way around it. So when I'm done putting the binding on, I always turn it to the back side and I get rid of any basting stitches that can be seen right here in or next to. I just like snip it and pull it in or next to the binding because I want it to look nice and cleaned up. I'm not going to finish going at it, but just saying that's what I do. That's the next step to finishing a quilt, is clipping all these threads. Come on.
Can we move the camera for the next one?
Move it up to the quilts? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yep. All right. So this one's done. Just going to toss it aside and grab another one, and then we'll bring the camera around. This is how much binding was left. So this is enough for a wall hanging or two. All right. For the next one, we're going to switch to black thread. And then give me a second to situate things, and then we'll put the camera around.
Of course. Take your time.
I need to change out the thread first.
All right.
Put this one away. I'm using Quilter's Choice. I bought it for the long arm, but it doesn't run nice because it's cotton through the long arm. All right, I'm going to plop this up here and roll a bobbin of it. One bobbin usually, especially in this machine, usually goes all the way around the back and the front. And, bobbin though. I'm going to set this up. Come on, right there. There we go. While that is winding, I'm gonna trim my tag down to 2 1/8. Oh, can we put this on a corner of that quilt, please? All right. Bobbin is wound. Tie the thread through. My snips are finally not working any good.
Not working any good.
Not working any good, yeah. Sorry, I couldn't speak properly for a moment. Honestly, that was just that much thread. I was going to play bobbin chicken with that one. Come on. Oh, black is going to be hard to see, stitching on black. Oh, well, we'll still do it anyway. All right. Next one is, I call it floral Tetris because it's floral and it looks like Tetris. We did this on a couple Sew Sundays worth where I was using up all the pieces left from making my other quilt. So I'm going to hold this up first and then we'll get started on it. It looks like Tetris, but with floral fabrics.
What's the name of the yellow quilt?
Oh, the yellow quilt is Vintage Splendor because it's vintage. It's literally vintage fabric. So I literally repurposed old fabrics and made it new. All right, we're going to put this over here. We're going to find a bottom corner of this one.
Should I stitch around the edge of my quilt before binding it?
Stitch around the edge of the quilt before binding it. I don't, but that's because I have a basting stitch on the long arm.
They don't have a long arm.
Yeah, if you don't have a long arm, then you can, because it'll help from wrinkling. So if it's kind of open and puffy from next to your, you were quilting it, blah, 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 and it's still open and fluffy and not stitched down, you might get some wrinkles and puckers along the back and the front from stitching your binding on. So yeah, I would stitch all the way around it. All right, camera is going to move. Camera is moving, moving, moving. The camera is moving. And you get to look at Scott first.
I'm going to bring the cord over.
Right here. All right, so you guys can watch me bind. All right. Let me come down just a hair right there. All right, I'm going to start with my tag. I'm going to stitch it around the whole edge of it because I don't, it is a seam right here all the way around it. So I'm going to stitch my tag. About 1/8 of an inch from the edge. Just makes it look nice and clean, the stitching around it. And it keeps it from, shifting or anything once it goes through the wash. I already pre-cut it to size, so I'm just going to stick it about 10 inches up right here on the corner. And I will write the name of the quilt on the back of the tags when I get a chance. I backstitched like crazy, as you saw. And now we're going to find an end to the binding. I'm going to find that first seam somewhere right here. Right there. Okay. I'm going to put the seam away from the corner. So here's the seam right here. Here's my corner. I don't want it at the corner. I'm going to go ahead and just walk this up. It's about right here. I'm going to put my seam guide 1/4 inch away from the edge. I'm going to line this up with the edge. And I'm going to stick this under. I want a little bit more than 1/4 inch. Right about there. All right. So I'm going to just stitch on down.
For one day, which day would you recommend?
If you only go to QuiltCon for one day, I would say go Friday or Saturday. If you don't want a lot of people there, go Sunday. But I don't think they're open as long on Sundays because Sunday is the final day. The first day is really just lots and lots of people, which is usually a Thursday. So I would say go Friday. Even though it's a lot of people, it's not as many as were on Thursday. And there's still lots of good stuff. And then Saturday is less people because, well, they already went Friday, Thursday and Friday. Some people only go for the 2 days. Some go for just the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. But I think as of not being as crowded and not being still getting good deals on everything, I would say Friday is the better day. Because there's still tons of stuff at every booth, And no matter which day you go, you get to see all the quilts and stuff. Some people can't see all the quilts in one day. I've done it several times because I've gone to there every time. I see the quilts all in one day, and then I shop and do whatever I want the next couple days. All right, so I'm going to come up to my corner. I'm going to stop 1/4 inch before the edge. That is just judged by eye from sewing all these years. I'm going to flip it up like this, making a nice straight line from here to here. I'm going to use my fingers, pushing it down, just like this, and I'm going to line that fold up with the edge. I've seen some people do it differently, but I line the fold up with the edge, turn the whole thing, stick it under, and start stitching. I'm going to put the whole quilt on my lap first, though, this whole side. I like to have the whole entire side on my lap that I'm working on.
If you do a seam on the corner, do you go back and cut the binding back and re-seam away from the corner?
You can, if you land with a seam in the corner, yes, you can totally unpick all the way back to wherever, then, add the new seam way up here and then go if you're not used to that. But I've learned how to have the seams in the corner and still be able to stitch it. So, but yes, you can totally unpick that section and then restart it away from the corner. But like I said, general rule, this was a big quilt. The little quilt was the one that had a seam land in the corner. This is a big one. I started with the first seam away from the edge. So with my luck and knowing how this works, the next seam should not be in a corner or near a corner. It'll be, like this much distance from a corner. It's typically how it works. Like I said, there's only a few size quilts so far that whole seam thing that I do does not work, where it will land in a corner. But usually lap quilts, I don't have any problem with. Yeah, see, here's a seam right here that I'm coming up to, and I have a little ways to the corner. And there's no seam in that corner. You gotta think, your strips were originally 42 inches, from side to side, and your quilt is never that equal number, so that's why you shouldn't have seams landing in the corner if you start it away from a corner. King size, on the other hand, I've had a lot of seams land in the corner because king size quilts are that one size where, 3 strips per side, Sorry, my hair is everywhere. So here's that next seam way over here. So that means the next one will be near the edge, but not on the corner. Because I definitely have more than 40 something inches in my lap of quilt.
What stitch length do you do for binding?
I attach the binding at a 2.5, 2.6 millimeter stitch length. It's like 10 stitches per inch. There's no need for it to be any tighter because it's getting double stitched. It's being stitched on one way and then top stitched the other way. So the binding is like literally stitched down. Really good. All right. So see, here's another seam because I started with it a certain way. So now I still have plenty of room to not have a seam in the corner. Like I said, it works with most quilts, that whole seam thing. But if you want to use binding clips to put the binding on all the way around, then you can avoid all seams near a corner from the start. I always backstitch, 1/4 inch from the edge, bring my corner up, making sure it's one straight, then fold it over onto itself. I got my flipped corner on that same edge, and then I backstitch, and then continue on.
Do you use a different stitch length on the top when you turn the binding on?
No, I used to change it to a 3, but now I just leave it at 2.5, 2.6. I used to stitch it though at a 3 millimeter, but now I just leave it. That way I don't have to keep changing it because, when I am attaching it in the first place, I always have to change it back down to 2 just to do my seam for the corner or for the, hooking it together part.
So instead of changing it to 3 different numbers now, I just stick with the one. Leave it at that. Almost around the edge. And then here's the seam way down here, so it never landed in the corner. All right. Oops, I went 1 stitch too far. Oops, and now I just ripped it 2 stitches too far. Right. Whew. Sometimes I do that accidentally. You don't have to worry about it if you stitch off the corner, but I didn't do that. All right, let's see where this ends up here. So I can stop my stitching about right here. Where's it at again? All right, stopping my stitches right there so that I can flatten this out. Again, I'm just using 2.5-inch binding, so, you know, if you don't want to grab your ruler, you can literally just open the rest of the binding up, lay it on top like this, lining it up with the edge while you're sitting here. Bring this one down and over it, flip it up on top of to itself like this, lining up this fold with this other edge, and literally stick your scissors in and cut right there. So now that's 2.5 inches. Okay. So now I'm going to open it. I literally just open it like this. So if it was folded like this, I just open it right there. Then this one I bring up by folding the quilt so it's still flat, right? Then this one I just open it up. There's the mountain and the mountain right here. Put the mountain on top of the mountain. You do not put a valley on top of the mountain, then you know you have it twisted. I'm going to change my stitch length back down to a 2 because that's what I do for the attachments. When I do this part, I always change it.
Have you ever lined up to avoid a seam in a corner only to have it land in another corner?
Yep, I've avoided seams in a corner that landed in another corner. It happened a lot in the beginning, but now I'm kind of just used to it. I'm going to cut all this away. I'm going to finger press. And then flatten it back out, and there it is. I'm going to put my seam guide back because I prefer to have it. I'm also going to change my stitch length back up. And then I always start about 1 inch above my previous stitching. That way I don't have to keep back tacking all and making big thumps of thread. All right, and then I stitched beyond it like 1 inch or 2. All right, now to flip it to the front and top stitch. Move that out of my way. Flip the whole quilt. Okay, now I'm just about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. I've used my finger to tuck in loose threads, and I keep myself 1/8 of an inch from the edge. You can't see the stitching because it's black with black, so you're just going to see me staying away from the edge, that's all. What?
You can see some of the quilting.
Oh yeah, you can see my quilting. This one is a big, like, swirly flower design all over the whole thing. It's just, I would call it medium quilting. It's not heavy. The quilt is still flowy. Really don't have a problem, even with heavy quilts being flowy. Maybe it's because I use the Pellon brand batting. I don't know. I quilted one recently for a client that sent their own batting, and it was stiff. It came out really stiff compared to my quilts, and I was like, really? And then the black batting that we ordered, that is really stiff. And it wasn't even because I heavy quilted either. It was just stiff batting. And yes, it's hard to see black thread next to the black corner, by the way. I figure as long as I keep it within a straight line, then I'm good. All right, I'm going to do my corner by flipping the bottom part up onto the top. And I'm going to snip away any loose threads right there. Flip the bottom to the top, make a little miter right there, and then fold it onto itself. Sometimes I do it 3 or 4 times to make sure that it's flush. There, let's try that again. And there's thread always in that corner, I swear. Come down to it. I literally stitch a stitch into the bottom side, and then back into the top, and back into the bottom side.
Are you focused on the right part of the
Yeah,
I'm
looking at this side, the inner side, the side that's on the quilt. That is what I focus on. Staying 1/8 of an inch in from the edge. So I'm usually putting the 1/8 of an inch mark at the foot of the machine. So, okay, so here's the foot right here. I'm going to point at it with my snips. I'm focused at the middle of this foot right here. So I'm lining this up, see, with this part of the foot, the middle of it, not this side. I'm not looking at this side. I'm looking at this side. As long as I keep this side nice and straight in front of me, I usually am pretty good at keeping 1/8 of an inch from the edge. Now that I have enough, let's bring a corner up so hopefully you can see it. See that? So the stitching goes right into that corner. And it's nice on the back.
Why didn't you put the foot guide back on?
Oh, I don't use the foot guide for the top stitching, only for the back stitching, because right now I'm actually stitching 1/8 of an inch away from the edge of the binding, not from any other part. I'm literally lining it up with the foot though. I also use my fingers to hold it down along the way so that I don't get any puckers or folds or anything like that. And this is not the same color black that I used for piecing the quilt. It's a totally different black shade. You can tell up close. From far away, you can't. Scott always tells me, that's the same white, or that's the same black. No, it's a different shade. Some companies' black is not the same as the previous company, so if you buy Kona Cotton black, and you need a little bit more of it, but you have Waverly black, just know it's not going to match right. I mean, it looks okay, but from a really close, you can tell it's 2 different colors. All right, flipping that corner up, over. I just hold it down, stitch up to it. Tucking all those threads in. Always bring your quilt onto your lap, the part that you're sewing with. And just know it will get hot, especially if you're doing it in the summer in a place that's as hot as we are. Because I sweat my butt off in the summertime when I do quilts. In the winter, it keeps me nice and toasty, especially leaving the iron on while I'm in here. But with the summertime, no. And we keep our house at a certain degree, but that doesn't help when the iron is on, or I'm sewing, or I have quilt fabric on my lap. Did I miss the edge? No, I caught the edge. It looked like it veered off. But that's because I'm sewing with black thread on black fabric. See, all I do is scoop, fold, hold. I move my fingers as I go. I just scoop, fold, and hold. And definitely the scooping part really allows that binding to sit at the edge of the quilt itself really nicely. Come a little bit closer because I can't see. Now I'm doing black on black with black. This is where I really struggle, is trying to get the black to right there. Because I can't see it at all. My eyeballs are just blind to the black fabric with black binding next to, with black thread. Whew. But I tend to use black binding a lot, like a whole heck of a lot.
Start to finish.
Huh?
How long did this quilt take you from start to finish?
This quilt, I drew it out over 2 Sundays worth of videos, so that's 4 hours, plus the probably 4 hours I worked offline with it. This quilt also gave me the blocks in here, gave me the idea for the quilt video that I did called Icy Hot. The blocks from this was the ones that gave me the idea to make the Icy Hot video. So if you haven't seen that, that's blocks from this quilt. But we did this over a couple of Sundays worth to have something to do. And all it is 2.5 by 2.5, 2.5 by 4.5, and 2.5 by 6.5 inch blocks of both black or colors from the jelly roll. This is really easy, but I just made this more like a Tetris to do how many different. There were, I'll tell you what, there's 53 different blocks in this quilt, from a 2.5, 2.5 by 4.5, and a 2.5 by 6.5 inch piece. I had 53 different combinations. Can you believe that? 53 combinations from the 3 sizes. Oh, and a 4.5 by 4.5 inch square. Sorry, I forgot that one. So yeah, the 4.5 by 4.5, 2.5 by 2.5, 2.5 by 4.5, and 2.5 by 6.5. There were 53 combinations that made this quilt. There's more than 53 blocks, obviously, but there was 53 combinations because Scott and I separated them all. And yeah,
Yep.
That's what we got. 53 combinations. Can you believe that? Why does it feel like it veered again?
Can you sew the binding on with the machine starting on the front?
Can you sew it with it on the front? Yes, you could start it on the front and wrap it to the back, and then stitch in the ditch from the back to the front so that you don't have the line all the way around the front. Instead, I like the line that's created. See my black stitch right here? It creates a line because I'm not stitching in that ditch. I'm just stitching next to it, so I get a line of stitching on the back side of the quilt. I like that on the back, not on the front. Plus, I think it looks cleaner on the front. That's my own personal opinion. It's like that last and final finishing framing border on the front. Because obviously you see more binding on the front than you do on the back. It's really skinny on the back and you get more of it on the front. So I think it frames it nicely. In all of my time quilting, I've actually only done like 2 quilts where I sewed it onto the front and then put it onto the back. And that I top stitched from the back and hoped that I grabbed the or top stitched from the front and hoped that it grabbed the back. One more stitch right there. Quilt on my lap. Oh, this is the last side. I'm literally done with this one in 2 seconds. And don't do that. Don't do that. Sorry, guys.
There'll be 3 of them done.
I had started to veer off. I'm literally just going to
Deer.
come back a little bit. I'm going to leave that veering off because I really don't care. There we go. That starting stitch. The back side's good. I'm going to come to it, beyond it. Oops, I cut the thread accidentally. I'm going to get rid of those 2 little tie-off stitches. There we go.
You did put the tag on there, right?
Yeah, there's a tag on this right here. Yep. So that one is done. All right, so here you can put the camera back now.
I was going to move that hinge in next one.
Oh,
Then move the camera.
okay. And like I said, the last and final
That
step,
thread.
I just want to see if you could see it. If there is any basting stitches or threads, see how these threads are coming out of the seam? I snip them. Try on the back too, right?
Did I stop?
Oh, okay. But anyways, I go around and I look for basting stitches. I think I did pretty good. I'm starting to train myself to stay under 1/4 inch on my basting. But I'll just go through and find basting stitches and pull them. All right, next quilt. Oh, here's the tag for that one. All right, next quilt is one from an older video that I did that's been hanging in the closet for more than a year. I call it Night Sky. You're not going to see it in full until I move the camera, though, because you're only going to see the back of it for the moment. We're going to put a tag on it real quick.
Am I moving the camera?
No, you could. Do you guys want to stay in this camera position? Because you really can't see much of what I'm doing. This one's getting an almost black binding. It's aged to perfection, but I'm using black thread, so.
It's
right.
aged.
I'm going to go ahead and trim my tag real quick right here off the camera because you can't see it. I'm going to attach my tag on the bottom corner. Out right here. And this one, the tag color matches the color I quilted it in. All right. From the back again, we're going to go ahead and find the end of this binding. I'm going to find the first seam, which is right here. I'm going to put that seam up and away from a corner. And I'm going to walk it up like this. I'm probably going to have to roll another bobbin. Actually, no, I won't have to. I think I have a black in the drawer. I didn't even think about that. Duh, I'm doing 2 quilts with black. All right, so I started with a tail. I always have a tail. Now I'm just going to stitch it on all the way around and hope that this quilt has no seams landing in the corner. So here's the corner stitching off the edge thing. You stitch up to it about 1/4 inch, same as I do before. Then when you're at that corner and you have a 1/4 inch, you tilt the whole thing and stitch off that corner. Like that. So it comes down and then off the corner. Right there.
How you make your tags?
We have a video on how to make the tags, yes. It's all done on the embroidery machine. I'm really bad about 1/4 inch seam, so I always use my seam guide. Just so you guys know, I cannot sew straight since I like to sew fast and continuously sometimes, like this. That seam guide really helps me be able to do that kind of stuff.
How do you know what binding to use?
How do I know what?
How do you know what binding to use?
How do I know what binding to use? Well, this binding is H2 Perfection by Maywood Studios. It's one of my favorite lines. I had a bunch of it, but this is in the quilt. So here's the H2 Perfection. It's in the quilt. It's in the blocks. It's in this. So that's why I chose this one. Sometimes, like the one that I put the yellow on, I just grabbed a yellow that matched because I didn't have a pink or a blue, and I had none of the fabric left over that's in the sashing or anything. And then on the previous one that I just did with the black binding, that one has all black in the front, so I figured a black binding is the best. Plus, I had no matching frontal fabric left that matched all the colors that are in it, but it matches the black, so that's why I chose that. So sometimes the binding comes from what's in the front of the quilt. Sometimes it comes from the backing fabric. It'll match the backing, which the backing matched the front because I wouldn't have put the backing on if it didn't match the front. You know what I mean? And with scrap quilts, where I just do all scraps on the front and all on the back, then I have made myself a giant roll that probably has hundreds of feet on it that I use for scrap quilts. And it's literally all the pieces left from all the binding that I've ever done is all hooked in one giant roll. And since I know it's right here, I could show you real quickly. Like, I have this one giant roll. See that? That's all scrap binding. I literally take and cut the binding to where I have bunches of pieces, and then I just hook them together and make one giant huge roll that lasts me forever. And I keep adding to it too. I keep adding more and more to it. Yeah.
It's big.
Yep, that's my giant roll. And I have to keep it flat or else it
Your
comes
binding
undone.
wheel.
Yeah, it's my binding wheel. So I don't move this usually. I just come up 1/4 of an inch, same as before, but instead of stitching off, I back stitch. And then I just fold it the same as you would. I just didn't go off the corner. But that's the previous one is how I go off the corner. I just don't like to have to move the seam guide and get it back into the same spot every single time to have an equal stitch on all the way around. And we're out of bobbin. Oh no, we're not. What happened? Why is it doing that? Maybe it's not out. It's just grabbed some of the fabric and frayed it. Look at that.
Schnickety.
Look at all that. Woohoo. Cut that off. Oops. I just veered. Oh, well, I'm out of bobbin anyway, so I was coming on the end. Whew. Let's find another black one. I can't use that. That's not full. Oh, here's one that's almost full. Maybe it'll go all the way around. I've been using the same black lately, so it should be the same kind of thread. And yes, this continuous sewing is fast to do. You just got to make sure you hold and adjust things just right to be able to do it. Right there. Quilt on my lap. I think I'm on the last side. No, yeah, I'm on the last full side.
Why don't you tell everybody after the rain now we're finally in the double digits?
Oh yeah, since it rained and everything, this week starts the finally no more triple digit weather.
Double
It's now only in the double digits, and this morning it was literally 72 degrees this morning. It felt great. I don't do under 70, so it's going to be sweater weather soon for me, but not for anybody else. But yeah, it was finally now turning to double digits. It's a miracle. But still in the 90s and high 80s.
It's
So,
finally in the 90s. Yay!
Yep. All right, side on my lap. I gotta stop right about, let's see, that's where it ended. So we're gonna stop about right here. Where's it ended? A little bit further. All right, same as before. Here's my starting edge. That's not very straight right there. We're gonna make that straight. I'm gonna take the last of this. I'm just going to open it up. I'm gonna lay it over on the edge of that I just cut. Right here. Take the other edge, smoothing it out on top of it, fold it at the bottom edge like this. Slide the scissors in and make the cut. Sometimes I cut about 1/8 of an inch more away, but this one actually cut really nicely. So did the last two. Change my stitch length. Okay, binding again. You open this top one up, place it down. I'm just going to stick it under my foot for now. Pinch the quilt, leaving this nice and flat. Pinch the quilt. Now open this one and put it on there. There's no twisting. And I'm just going to lay it on top just like this, lining up the top and the side edge right here. And I'm going to stitch corner to corner. Snip that away. 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then finger press. And then bam, nice and flat. When I caught on to doing that, I've only I think twice in the beginning, I haven't done it since, only twice ever flipped my binding the wrong way. Line that back up right there. Stitch back to higher number. See, I could have went with cutting about 1/8 of an inch away because I'm going to have a tiny little pucker. But the pucker's on this side and not on that side. If it was a bigger pucker, it would have been on the other side, but that's okay. It doesn't bother me. All right, now you can kind of see the front of the quilt. Some of you may or may not remember it if you've been watching my channel long enough, but I'll show you the whole entire thing once this is on. Shouldn't take too much longer to get it stitched to the front. And actually, when I first started this quilt, it only had the center, not the border that's on it. I added the border 2 days ago so that I can quilt it, because I had been waiting to have something that matched it, but then I found the matching fabric and said, oh, look, now I can do that border finally and quilt that quilt. So I couldn't find the matching fabric, even though I knew I had it. Well, I finally found it. All right, turn the whole thing on my lap. Does this one what?
A night crane panel in it?
A night crane panel? No.
Yeah, I don't know. Karen is asking.
No, this one, I did strip units and then used the strip tube ruler to cut them out. It's from a while back. No, the crane one, that one was red fabrics. I think that was the red one.
Are you lining the left side of the edge of the binding?
I'm lining this side right here, the inside, the quilt side of the binding up with the center of my foot. The center of this side of the foot, not that side. I don't pay attention to the side right here at all whatsoever. I pay attention to this side right here, the lip, and this part of my foot right here on the side of it. I don't care about what's happening over there. Lamp. I always do my binding by machine, never by hand. I'm just not a hand sewer, and I just want to say that I have won first place awards entering quilts into shows with its top stitched to the front like this. Nobody cares about that kind of stuff. And when I was at QuiltCon, I noticed it's very common for people, not even on the modern quilts, not to even bother with hand stitching the binding. They just flip it and turn it to the front and stitch it down. Or turn it to the back and stitch it down. Either way, it's not by hand. Yeah, if you like hand stitching, do it by hand. But if you are just lazy like me and don't feel like messing with all that, just, you know, do it by machine. The machine does it all for you. You just have to use your fingers. It's about the only thing that kills me about making quilts is binding. That last and final thing, this last step, binding, hurts my fingers really bad. Because my arthritis is getting worse over the years, and the last couple months have been horrendous for me. Notice I'm not even wearing a wedding ring because I haven't been able to get my ring off over my knuckles on a daily basis, 2 to 3 times a day. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take it off and leave it off. Because my fingers have been swelling really bad. All right. Is this my last? This is the second to last. This is how quick I usually do it. When I'm not on camera, I just do this. Oop. That was not supposed to happen.
What did you do? Knock the camera?
Knocked the camera and almost turned off the live stream. That was not supposed to happen, guys. Sorry about that.
Camera over here. You're almost done.
Yeah, I'm almost done. He's going to move the camera back to its original position. So, pre-warning, camera is moving, camera is moving. The camera is moving.
We can end it by showing them all the quilts then.
Yep. This is the last full side, I'm pretty sure, because the next side is the end of this quilt. I like how this one turned out. Even though I don't like glitter fabric, this one turned out really cool.
Oh, the colors are
Yeah, the colors in this one, that's why I called it Night Sky, because the colors in this one are like amazing. Oh. Well, we're going to take an extra second to put another bobbin in here real quick. I knew that one wasn't full enough. Do I have another? Ooh, I have one. Yay. We can continue on. Right. It's falling. I'm going to come about an inch before I ended. And then just trace myself on the line that I sewed. When I'm on the front side, if I see threads and seams that I missed while long arm quilting, I usually pick those too. Or else we end up finally seeing them when I photograph everything. Final corner. All right, coming up to where I started, I'm going to backstitch, stitch further. Ta-da! All right, quilt number 3 of 4 is now done.
And that's enough. Do some questions and we'll show them.
All right, here is the quilt.
Want me to hold it in?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, here's this one. So it originally was just all this, but I found another jelly roll of this blue fabric, and that's what went on the other day as my borders. So I was able to finish this off. So I'm calling this one Night Sky. I love it. I love this one. I love the colors of it because I'm a purple fan. Like, and then this one
And the
has
back is sharks.
sharks on the back.
And
This
they're
one
awesome.
is quilted with, instead of the wavy swirl going that way, it's actually going long ways with the quilt. So it's in the color lilac thread. So the waves and spirals are going up and down. It kind of makes it look longer, but it's only 68 by 76. Yeah, I was going to bring it up close a little bit so they could see the quilting real quick.
Well, if they want to buy it, we can send them pictures too.
Yeah, and if you're interested in it for buying purposes, I can send pictures. So you can see the swirly quilting. And I just realized that the camera is kind of facing down, and that's why that quilt wasn't able to see the top borders. There we go. All right, the next one that I finished while on live is the one that's called Floral Tetris. This is the top or the bottom. It really doesn't matter.
Bottom, but it doesn't matter.
So this one is quilted in the color lilac. I kind of went lilac thread crazy in the last couple days. This one has a flower that echoes, and that it's turned all different ways. So you can see, this is the one that I was saying, 6.5 by 2.5, 4.5 by 2.5, 2.5 by 2.5, and a 4.5 by 4.5 made 53 different blocks. This is one block right here. This is another block right here, another block right here, 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 but yet it looks like a Tetris. You know what I mean? It looks Tetris-y because of the way the blocks landed. The back of this one is a teal with what is that word? Feathers. It's a feather with white feathers. This one came out 61 inches by 79 inches. And then let me fold it kinda and hold it a little close to the camera so you guys can see the floral quilting. All right, so that was quilt number 2 that I bound. Then here's the Vintage Splendor again. So this one was done with vintage fabrics. Pull it tighter. Here, there we go. And then I showed you guys how to do the sashing without cornerstones. So it's just one solid piece for the sashing. It doesn't line up perfectly, but I did show you guys in the tutorial how to line it up. But these blocks were made by somebody else, not me, and they're vintage, and they came with vintage fabric, which is cool. And then I just added the border. The back is pretty pink. This is fabric that I just got. It was a 108, and I was like, oh my God, that's perfect for this quilt. So there's that. This one is quilted with a flower and a leaf design and loop-de-loops. Flower, leaf, and loop-de-loops. I was trying to keep with the vintage of it. And then I don't know how easy it is to see the quilting because I used white thread on this one. But you can see it in some of the squares. It's just loops, flowers, and leaves. And then the last one I didn't get to, which needs to be bound, but that one will be done off camera. There's one left. It's getting purple binding. This one is the Jelly Roll Flight.
What
If
size
you
is this one, Karen?
Oh,
Catch
this
that.
one is, that's Night Sky. Where's the paper? 72 by 79 is the Vintage Splendor. Night Sky needs its tag real quick. You could throw that on there. And then If you guys remember the Jelly Roll Flight video, everyone saw it in it was on the wall or something during a live stream. And can you make that? Can you make that? So I made one. Well, I had already made and quilted one and sold it. So one of you out there has the twin to this quilt. But I quilted, it just needs bound. So one of you out there has the twin that has a different fabric as the accent fabric, but it's still purple. So this is Jelly Flight. This one I quilted with a triple, like, I don't know what to call it, like a loopy, flowery thingamabobber. They're all different sizes, and it's in lilac thread. But yeah, I had made another one, and it's been hanging in the closet since the first one, you know, was quilted, because I made it only like 2 weeks prior too. And then this has splat on the back. I just call it splatter. Somebody just splattered, which I like. I think it's really cool. So let me show you the quilting real close, up close. What you can see of it. I will hold this end of it because you can see it in that section. And that was Jelly Flight, Jelly Roll Flight. So that's all the quilts that I had to bind. So I at least got 3 with the wall hanging of 4 done. How many jelly rolls of Night Sky? 2. 1 for all the blocks and 1 for the border. I had a couple pieces left from the border though, so that I can make a table runner or something. I just haven't done it yet. So that's it. That's all I had. So I got to bind 1 more and I'll be done with all that. And I'll have 4 more quilts that I have nowhere to put. I really don't. I'm out of space. I have no room in any closet left for quilts. But I still have 24 left to quilt.
We don't even have them in closets anymore.
Yeah, they're not even in closets anymore. They're now being stacked in corners because I'm out of space. All right. Excuse me.
You ready?
All right, guys. Any quick questions while I'm still here? It doesn't look like it, so I'm going to go ahead and get off of here. Thank you guys for hanging out while I bound quilts. I know it's not the best thing to watch, and I didn't make anything new, but it needed to get done. So now I just got to find a place to put them. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video, which is Thursday, breakfast at Tiffany's. So see you guys later. Bye. Toodle.